Your brain started changing long before you noticed anything wrong, and most people have no idea. What if the forgetting did not begin last year, or even 5 years ago? What if the real problem started quietly, 2 full decades before any symptom showed up? That is not a scare tactic. That is what the research actually shows us today. Most people wait until a loved one cannot remember names before they even ask questions. But by that point, the metabolic damage inside the brain has been building for years silently. Today, you are going to understand exactly how this unfolds, stage by stage before diagnosis. And more importantly, you are going to learn what you can actually do about it right now. Here is something most people never hear from anyone. Alzheimer's is not just a memory disease. It begins as a metabolic problem deep inside your brain cells long before symptoms ever appear. Researchers now call it metabolic brain dysfunction, and it starts with one specific breakdown inside cells. Your brain becomes resistant to insulin and slowly loses its ability to use glucose for energy. Think about that for a moment. Your brain's power supply starts flickering decades before you feel anything. PET scan studies published in Lancet Neurology confirm this. Reduced glucose metabolism appears years before diagnosis. This is why some researchers call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. Insulin resistance happening specifically in the brain. Your brain is only 2% of your body weight, but it burns 20% of your energy. When brain cells cannot use glucose efficiently anymore, they begin to starve quietly and slowly over time. And that silent starvation is where this entire story begins. Long before stage 4 or 5. Stage 1 is called the silent metabolic shift. And you will feel absolutely nothing during this phase. No memory loss, no confusion, no warning signs that anything unusual is happening inside your brain. But glucose uptake in the hippocampus, your brain's memory center, is already beginning to slow down gradually. The process is underway, the damage is accumulating, and the body gives you zero signals at this point. This is the most important stage to understand, because this is where prevention has the greatest possible power. Stage 2 is where things begin feeling slightly off, but most people brush it away without concern. You start losing words mid-sentence, your thinking feels slower, and mental fatigue hits earlier than it used to. You reach for coffee more often, not because you are tired, but because your brain needs that stimulant boost. Here is what makes stage 2 so critical. The brain is still highly adaptable and responsive at this point. Neuroplasticity is still strong here. Lifestyle changes made now create real measurable improvements in brain metabolism quickly. But most people say I am just getting older, and that one belief delays everything that could actually help. Stage 3 is the wake-up stage, and this is where families start quietly noticing something feels different. Stories get repeated, thoughts disappear mid-sentence. Simple tasks suddenly require more mental energy than they ever did before. Clinically, this is called mild cognitive impairment, and research shows it is strongly connected to insulin resistance patterns. A 2012 Archives of Neurology study confirmed insulin resistance significantly increases the risk of progressing beyond this stage. Now here is the connection most people completely miss. The same drivers that create belly fat damage your brain: chronic blood sugar spikes, processed foods, poor sleep, and a sedentary lifestyle all impair brain cell metabolism directly. The same metabolic dysfunction expanding your waistline, is quietly reducing glucose flow to your brain at the same time. And brain glucose metabolism can be declining for 10 to 20 years before any official diagnosis ever gets made. But here is the good news. The brain is metabolically flexible and it responds powerfully to the right inputs. Exercise increases something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which acts like fertilizer for your brain cells. When you finish a workout and music sounds richer and clearer, that is BDNF flooding through your brain right then. Fasting also raises BDNF, and ketones produced during fasting provide an alternate fuel source for glucose-impaired brain cells. This is why the approach matters so much. Stabilize insulin. Reduce inflammation, and your brain gets better fuel immediately. Now there are 4 essential levers that directly influence whether cognitive decline accelerates or slows down for you. The first lever is insulin control, and this is the most powerful tool available to you right now. Aim to keep total daily carbohydrates below 100 grams, because carbs spike insulin more than anything else does. Eat only 3 meals per day with no snacking in between, then gradually work toward an 18-6 fasting schedule. This single shift lowers chronic insulin exposure, promotes autophagy, and gives your brain cells a chance to recover properly. The second lever is blood flow, because your brain needs constant oxygen and nutrient delivery to function at its best. Walking for just 30 minutes daily has been shown to improve cerebral blood flow in measurable and significant ways. Add strength training on top of that, and you are giving your brain both better circulation and metabolic support simultaneously. The third lever is inflammation reduction, because neuroinflammation is one of the core drivers of cognitive decline over time. Omega-3 fatty acids reduce neuroinflammatory markers, and a 2010 study in Alzheimer's and dementia confirmed this finding clearly. Skip the fish oil supplements, and instead eat small fatty fish like sardines, mackerel, or wild salmon twice weekly. Sleep is equally critical here, because sleep deprivation causes direct inflammation inside the brain that compounds over time significantly. Keep your bedroom cold and dark, and stop eating at least 3 hours before you plan to go to sleep. The fourth lever is mitochondrial support, because your brain's energy factories need the right conditions to keep functioning properly. Strength training directly improves mitochondrial function, especially in the brain, making it one of the most underrated brain tools available. Aim for 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal, because adequate protein supports mitochondrial repair and energy production consistently. Shifting into ketosis even periodically gives your mitochondria a cleaner and more efficient fuel source than glucose alone provides. Stage 4 is where daily life becomes visibly affected, and families can no longer explain it away as normal aging. Managing finances becomes difficult, familiar places feel confusing, and social withdrawal begins happening more frequently than before. At this stage, hippocampal atrophy is often visible on an MRI, and the Lancet Neurology 2010 confirmed this finding. But remember, this stage did not begin here. It began metabolically 2 or even 3 decades earlier in life. Stage 5 involves significant dependence and serious memory impairment, and independence declines in ways that affect every part of daily life. The goal of understanding all 5 stages is not to frighten you. It is to show you the prevention window clearly. Einstein said intellectuals solve problems, but geniuses prevent them. And that is exactly the mindset this topic demands from you. Now let us address something many people wonder about. Is Alzheimer's mostly genetic and therefore outside of your control? Genetics plays a role, but a much smaller one than most people have been led to believe over the years. Lifestyle and environment account for roughly 95% of the equation, which means most of this is in your hands. Genes load the gun, but your daily lifestyle choices are what actually pull the trigger over time. Remember that always. Does exercise genuinely reduce Alzheimer's risk, or is that just something wellness people say without real evidence behind it? A 2011 study by Erickson showed aerobic exercise actually increases hippocampal volume. The memory center physically grows with movement. Resistance training was shown in a 2010 Archives of Internal Medicine study to improve executive function in older adults significantly. Movement is not optional for brain health. It is one of the most evidence-backed tools available to anyone right now. What role does sleep actually play in protecting your brain from this kind of metabolic and cognitive decline over time? During deep sleep, cerebrospinal fluid literally flushes through the brain, clearing out metabolic waste that accumulates throughout each waking day. REM sleep consolidates short-term memories into long-term storage. And without enough of it, that process breaks down significantly over time. Aim for at least 90 minutes of combined deep and REM sleep every single night, not just total hours in bed. You do not feel insulin resistance building in your brain. You do not feel glucose metabolism quietly declining each day, but your brain is responding to every signal you send it. Through food, movement, sleep, and stress every single day. The window to act is not after symptoms appear. The window is right now while the brain is still highly adaptable. Send this to someone you care about. Because early awareness is the one thing that genuinely changes long-term trajectories for people. Your brain is not simply aging. It is adapting daily to how you live. And you still have the power to change that.